Good evening, dear listeners. Welcome back to Driftwood Stories, a gentle haven where history softly whispers its secrets, inviting you to rest and unwind. Tonight, let us journey together into the peaceful heart of Edo-period Japan, a time of quiet refinement, gentle rhythms, and mindful craftsmanship. Settle into comfort, close your eyes if you'd like, and let the cares of your day drift softly away. Imagine tranquil gardens, the whisper of cherry blossoms in the breeze, and the calm rituals of an artisan whose life moves in harmony with the gentle flow of seasons. Allow your breath to slow and deepen as we step into a world of meticulous care and soothing simplicity, a place of restful dreams waiting just for you. Relax, dear friend. You're safe here, and your journey into serene history begins now. In a quiet corner of Edo, where the bustle of the city gives way to the calm of narrow streets and moss-lined gardens, a gentle light begins to bloom on the horizon. The night has not fully left. Its final shadows still rest quietly beneath the eaves, but the day is already peeking over the tiled rooftops, brushing its golden fingers across wooden shutters and stone lanterns. Inside a small weathered house, tucked just beyond the reach of the village square, an artisan begins to stir. He does not wake to the clamour of bells, nor to the demands of work. His waking is slower, like a river stirring from stillness, one ripple at a time. First comes the breath, a long, quiet inhalation drawn through his nose, as if sipping the very soul of the morning. Then the exhale, soft and untroubled, released into the silence. His eyes remain closed. The birds have already begun their song. A bush warbler, Uguisu, sings from the branches of the plum tree just outside his home. Its call is soft, patient, melodic. Other birds soon join, each with their own greeting to the sun. None are in a hurry. He opens his eyes slowly, without urgency. Above him, the bamboo ceiling stretches overhead in clean lines, bathed now in a faint blue glow. The woven mat beneath him, still warm from sleep, cradles his back with a familiarity worn by years of use. He does not sit up immediately. Instead, he takes in the world as it is, the muted creak of the wooden beams adjusting with the temperature, the scent of his room, a mixture of paper, dust, and the faint floral whisper of sandalwood lingering from last night's incense. It is not grand, but it is enough. He sits now, gently swinging his legs around and placing his feet upon the cool floorboards. The air kisses his skin, just cool enough to refresh, not chill. He does not shiver, he simply breathes. Beside him rests his robe, cotton, indigo-dyed, soft at the collar where his hands so often fold it. He slips into it without effort, the fabric falling around him like water in a cup. He rises with care, not because of age or frailty, but because speed is not his way. He moves as the world moves, with grace and intention. Crossing the room, he pauses before the sliding shoji door. His hand, firm but gentle, rests on the wooden handle, and with a quiet shh, he opens it to the morning. Light pours in, not in a flood, but in a gentle glow, filtered through the green leaves of the maple tree in his garden. The sky is not yet blue, it is a soft, watercolour grey tinged with promise. He stands for a moment in the doorway. The garden before him is small but lovingly kept. A stepping-stone path winds through moss and pebbles. A single stone lantern sits near a tiny pond where 2 koi sleep beneath lily pads. Bamboo stalks sway faintly in the breeze, their leaves whispering secrets to one another. Dew clings to everything. The scent of damp earth and new sunlight fills his lungs. He closes his eyes and bows slightly to the garden, a wordless greeting between man and nature. Then, as he has done every morning for decades, he turns to prepare his tea. Inside, he kneels on the tatami mat, positioning himself before a small charcoal hearth set into the floor. The coals have cooled overnight, but with practised hands he rekindles them, adding thin sticks of pine and a pinch of finely ground charcoal. A faint crackle begins, followed by the soft rustling sigh of fire catching its breath. Above it he places a simple iron kettle. Blackened from years of use, its form is unassuming, its purpose sacred. From a lacquered box he retrieves a ceramic tea bowl wide and heavy. He runs his fingers over its surface. The glaze is uneven, crackled, worn, beautiful. The water takes its time. As it heats, he prepares the matcha, scooping the fine bright green powder from a wooden container and sifting it into the bowl. Steam curls from the kettle's spout like a rising ghost, disappearing into the morning light. He lifts the kettle and pours a small stream into the bowl. The sound is quiet but full, like rain against leaves. He picks up the bamboo whisk, chasen, and begins to stir. The motion is circular, steady, slow. His wrist does not strain. The whisk moves as if by thought alone. Bubbles form, then foam, then a soft green surface, as smooth as pond water. He inhales deeply and drinks. 1 sip, 2, 3. The taste is earthy and warm, faintly bitter with a sweetness that arrives only at the end. It grounds him, anchors him. The heat travels from tongue to throat to chest to hands. He places the bowl down. For several long moments he does nothing. He sits, gazing out at the garden, watching the way light plays across the pond. He listens, not for anything in particular, but simply to listen. A bird flits past the screen. A bamboo stalk creaks. Somewhere in the distance, a rooster calls once, then falls silent. He exhales again, this time slower, deeper. The morning is now fully awake, but still there is no rush. He remains kneeling, eyes soft, shoulders loose. The rest of the world may begin its hurried stirrings soon, but here, in this quiet room, beside a modest hearth and a fading trail of steam, there is stillness. There is peace, and in that peace the artisan finds not only the beginning of his day, but the centre of his being. The tea has been finished. The bowl is set aside, carefully rinsed, then dried with a soft cloth. The water in the kettle still simmers faintly over the coals, sending slow, swirling ribbons of steam into the morning air. Now the artisan rises, not hurriedly, never hurriedly, but with the fluid motion of someone long practised in quiet routine. He folds his robe neatly around him, adjusts the sash, and walks to the doorway of his workroom, sliding the shoji open with a sound no louder than a breath. This is the room where he creates. It is small, uncluttered, but filled with presence. The air inside is cool and still. Light spills in through the paper windows, filtered into soft rectangles on the floor. Dust motes drift lazily in the shafts of sunlight, like pollen in a spring breeze. He bows slightly as he enters, not out of superstition, but as an act of respect. For this room is not just where he works, it is where he listens to the world, to himself, to the art waiting quietly within the materials. The space is organized not with symmetry, but with balance. Against one wall sits a low table, its surface worn smooth by decades of patient labour. On it lie the tools of his craft, wooden-handled chisels, their blades polished and sharp, a set of fine brushes with bristles made from horsehair, fox and goat, a compact stone ink slab and its companion ink stick, paper sheets stacked and weighed by a smooth river stone. He begins, as he always does, by preparing the space. First, he opens the side window just slightly to let in the morning breeze. It moves through the room like a guest, welcome but gentle. The scent of the garden drifts in with it, wet moss, faint pine, and something floral, perhaps a lingering wisteria bloom. He kneels before his work table and begins to arrange his tools. One by one, he lifts each brush and checks the bristles. He runs his thumb across them, separating strands, feeling for stiffness or stray hairs. If one is not quite right, he combs it gently with a fine wooden pick, then returns it to its resting place. He does the same with his carving tools, checking each blade's edge, cleaning the handles with a cloth dampened with warm water and a touch of camellia oil. The wood darkens slightly under his fingers, releasing a soft, sweet scent. These tools are not just extensions of his hands, they are old companions, trusted, familiar, alive in their own quiet way. He selects his inkstone and places it at the centre of the table. With both hands he lifts the inkstick, a small black rectangle etched with golden calligraphy, and begins to grind it slowly against the stone. The motion is circular, rhythmic, deliberate. He adds a few drops of water and watches as the first black sheen appears, deepening with each pass. The scent rises, ancient, earthy, calming. Ink prepared like this is not just pigment. It is intention distilled into form. Once the ink is ready, he sets the brush beside it and turns to his paper. The stack is neatly pressed, sheets of hand-made washi, their edges soft and irregular. Each page is slightly different in tone and texture, yet all feel warm to the touch, like worn linen or polished driftwood. He lifts the top sheet and places it on the table, weighing its corners with 4 small stones carved in the shape of turtle shells. The room is now ready. But before he begins the day's work, there is one more ritual. He reaches into a small drawer and removes a stick of incense. Sandalwood today, delicate and dry. He lights it over the hearth, watching the tip glow orange for a moment before it softens into ash. He places it upright in a simple clay holder near the edge of the table. The smoke curls upward, twisting like a thread of memory through the still air. This smoke marks the boundary between preparation and creation. From here, the act of making begins, not as production, not as performance, but as practice, as presence. He does not rush into it. He sits for a time, simply observing the space around him, the brushes, the paper, the tools, the light, the garden outside. All are exactly where they should be. All are ready. All are waiting. He places his hands in his lap and closes his eyes. And in the hush of that moment, before ink touches paper, before blade meets wood, before even a single line is drawn, he breathes. One deep inhale, one full exhale. Nothing more is needed. The moment has come. His hands rest calmly at the edge of the table. The room is still, save for the gentle, spiralling smoke of incense, the slow sway of a bamboo blind, and the far-off sound of temple bells echoing softly through the village. The artisan opens his eyes. He leans forward, not quickly, not decisively, but with a practised grace. His breath remains slow, his shoulders at ease. He selects a brush. It is not the finest brush, nor the newest. Its bristles are slightly uneven, its handle faded from years of touch, but it is the brush he uses for beginnings. And every day, no matter how experienced he becomes, he begins again. He lifts it gently, dips it into the pool of ink on the stone, and holds it just above the paper. He waits, not to hesitate, but to listen, to feel when the moment is right. Then, with a movement as soft as mist rising from a morning pond, he lowers the brush and draws the first line. It is not a bold stroke. It does not shout. It whispers. The ink glides across the paper with a sound like silk brushing against wood. He moves the brush in slow arcs, pausing between each stroke. The characters are not rushed. Each one is a breath, a gesture, a small devotion made visible. He writes a poem, not his own, but a line remembered from childhood, taught to him by his teacher, who now lives only in memory. The words speak of stillness, of the moon reflected in water, of things beautiful and fleeting. As he writes, the world falls away. There is no clock in this room. No chatter, no footfall, no need to measure time. The ink dries slowly. The paper drinks it without greed. His body relaxes into the rhythm. Dip, brush, lift, breathe. He finishes the calligraphy, sets the brush aside, and takes a cloth to clean his hands. The scent of ink lingers on his fingers, dark, soft, mineral. Now he shifts. He moves to the other side of the room, where a square block of wood awaits. It rests on a heavier table, worn and stained with years of effort. It is maple, chosen not for beauty, but for character. Tight grain, steady tone, willing to hold detail. He examines the block. Drawn faintly across its surface is the sketch he prepared days before. A quiet village scene, rooftops under snow, a lone pine tree, two figures walking with baskets through the falling flakes. He does not look at it with pride, nor with pressure, only with patience. He selects a chisel. Its blade catches the light, a narrow crescent honed to a razor's edge. He begins. The first cut is shallow. He follows the pencil line exactly, pressing the tool into the wood and guiding it along the curve of a roof line. A tiny curl of wood lifts and falls to the side. Then another and another, each cut no more than a breath long. The act of carving is unlike writing. It resists. It requires not just gentleness, but listening. The wood speaks through resistance, through texture. He adjusts by feel, by sound. If the blade scrapes too dryly, he knows the grain has shifted. If it whispers, he continues. Time stretches. The sun outside climbs, unseen but felt, casting changing light across his table. Dust gathers in quiet corners. A shadow moves across the inkstone and disappears. He does not notice. He is carving now the pine tree, its branches fine and angled. For this he changes tools, a thinner blade, curved just slightly. He leans closer, eyes narrowing, breath slowing. Each needle must be shaped with care. Not realistic, just enough. A suggestion, a gesture. The figures come next. Two travellers, heads bowed, baskets at their hips. He works the folds of their robes into the wood with the tip of a gouge, turning each line into softness, each edge into wind. Between cuts he pauses, not out of fatigue, but to observe, to see what the wood wants. It is a conversation, this act. He does not force. He coaxes, he wipes the surface with a cloth. Blows softly on the lines, runs a finger along the edge of a roof to feel the depth. Satisfied, he continues. The snow must be carved last, not with lines, but with absence, with the suggestion of stillness, of falling, of silence. He does not press the blade hard here. Instead, he gently pares away thin planes of wood, leaving soft hollows. Empty space becomes form, negative space becomes meaning. The incense has burned out now. The room smells faintly of cedar and iron. Outside, a crow calls. A child's laugh rings out and fades. He does not hear them. He is working the lower edge now, refining the border. The design is nearly complete, but there is no rush to finish. He could stop now, or continue for another hour. The wood will not mind. He leans back, sets the chisel down, brushes wood dust from his sleeves and exhales slowly. Before him lies a story, told not with words, but with lines. A quiet winter's day, a village hushed in snow, a tree, a path, two lives passing gently through time. He bows his head, not to admire, but to acknowledge the moment. And then he smiles, faintly. He knows tomorrow he will return and see new flaws, new ways to adjust the carving. He will trim one corner, deepen one shadow, lighten a line. This is not failure, this is practice. He lifts the block, tilts it into the light, and lets the afternoon sun settle into every groove, every mark, every space carved, not in haste, but in peace. The room is quiet again, the tools are still, the work is done for now, and in this moment, between the making and the resting, there is only presence and the sound of breath. The carving is complete, for now. The artisan sets the block aside, brushing the last curls of wood into a small woven basket. He wipes his hands with a damp cloth, folding it neatly and placing it on the table. There is no clutter, only quiet order. He stands slowly, stretching his arms behind his back, rolling his shoulders gently, hearing a few soft cracks that come not with pain, but with age and peace. The sun has begun to shift now. Its warmth slides across the floor like a sleeping cat, lazy and golden. The light no longer sharp, but mellow, casting long shadows that stretch across the mats and gently blur the corners of the room. Outside, the sounds of the village have begun to change. The morning hush has lifted, and in its place comes the warm murmur of daily life. Distant conversations, the creak of a handcart rolling over stones, the rhythmic tapping of a hammer in a nearby workshop. The artisan steps out into his garden once more. The koi have moved into the shaded part of the pond, their bright forms gliding beneath the lily pads. A dragonfly hovers above the water, wings catching the sun, flickering in and out of view like a dream half remembered. He walks to the basin by the gate, a stone bowl carved long ago by a now forgotten stonemason. He pours a ladle of water over his hands, letting it run cool and clear across his skin. Then he dries them on his robe and slides open the gate. The stone path leading from his home curves gently through stands of bamboo and pine. It leads him downhill into the heart of the village. Each footstep is soft, his straw sandals brushing the stone with barely a whisper. The air smells of cooked rice, sun-warmed wood, and the faint sweetness of pickled plum from an open window. He passes children playing with tops and sticks, their laughter rising like birdsong. One of them waves at him. He nods, his eyes creasing in the corners. A quiet smile, nothing more. That is enough. Further down, he arrives at the market square. It is not large, just a circle of stalls made from bamboo and canvas, each one cared for with the same reverence he shows to his tools. There is no shouting here, no bargaining chaos, only the calm, familiar cadence of trade among neighbours. At one stall, a woman sells bundles of green onions and radish wrapped in damp cloth. Another offers pottery, bowls with wavy rims, each one different, each one purposeful. He pauses before a vendor with baskets of charcoal, admiring the elegant stacking of blackened wood. The vendor gives a slight bow, the artisan returns it, No words are needed. Further on, he stops before a printmaker's display. A younger man, perhaps a student of someone once his own apprentice. The prints hang from cords like drying laundry, fluttering gently in the breeze. He scans them slowly. A mountain village in fog, a heron among reeds, a figure walking through the snow with an umbrella tilted against the wind. He lingers on one, a temple bell tower beneath a blossoming cherry tree. The scene is still, but alive. He nods once in quiet appreciation, then continues. The tea-house stands at the edge of the square, its paper lanterns swaying with each breeze. He does not enter, but walks around the back to where the stone wall is warm from the sun. There he sits, not because he is tired, but because the world moves differently when one is seated and still. From this vantage he watches. A boy delivers parcels in a basket tied to his hip. An old man sharpens a blade against a whetstone. A young girl ties herbs into bundles with strips of rice paper. Her movements are careful. She will be an artisan too, though she may not know it yet. Time moves without pressure. The sun shifts again, casting the village in a warm golden hue. Long shadows stretch beneath the awnings. The smell of simmering miso rises in the air. The artisan stands, brushing dust from his robe. He bows slightly toward the tea-house, toward the market, toward the centre of this small world. Then he walks back, up the path, past the koi pond, under the maple tree that leans just slightly toward the sun. The garden welcomes him like an old friend, and as he closes the gate behind him, the village hum fades into the hush of home. The garden has changed. Where once light danced across the pond and painted warmth upon the stepping stones, now the shadows have taken gentle hold. Not darkness, not yet, but twilight. That sacred in-between time, when the world hushes itself in preparation for rest. The artisan stands beneath the maple tree, a hand on its bark, the other cradling a small ceramic cup. Inside, barley tea, barely warm now, brewed thin and mild, he lifts it to his lips and sips. The taste is earthy, smooth, faintly nutty. Behind him the bamboo door slides shut with a low shh, muffling the distant laughter of children finishing their games and the soft rhythm of sandals on the road below. Inside his home, the light is low. A single lantern sits at the edge of the hearth, its frame made of bamboo and paper, glowing amber with the breath of a flickering flame. Its glow does not reach the far corners of the room. It doesn't need to. It holds just enough light for peace. The artisan kneels beside his work table, not to work now, but to close the day. The brushes are rinsed once more and laid carefully in their wooden box. The chisel blades are wiped down and oiled with quiet, reverent strokes. The inkstone is washed, the water poured into a small basin, and the surface dried with a square of old cloth. Nothing is hurried. The movements are slow, thoughtful, as if the act of cleaning were not the end of the work, but its final necessary offering. He lifts the carved wood block from earlier and holds it in his lap, turning it gently in his hands. His fingers follow the grooves he cut, the pine branches, the snow, the rooftops. He smiles, not from pride, but from presence. He has shaped something today. Not just wood, but time, stillness, meaning. He returns the block to its shelf, then stands and walks to the doorway once more. The garden has darkened now. The pond is black glass. The wind has quieted. Crickets have begun their chorus, each one adding its soft thread to the night's woven song. He lights a second lantern and places it just outside the door. Its glow flickers against the smooth stones, illuminating the base of the stone lantern, the curve of the wooden veranda. Inside, he prepares his evening meal. It is simple, like always. A bowl of rice, cooled from earlier, pickled radish, yellow and crisp, miso soup, gently reheated with soft tofu and thinly sliced scallion. He eats in silence, cross-legged beside the hearth, the fire no more than a faint breath now. Each bite is slow. He chews not just for taste, but to feel the rhythm of nourishment. He sips the soup slowly. He watches the shadows shift as the lantern light flutters. A moth lands on the paper screen, then leaves. After the meal, he washes the bowl and places it to dry, not with urgency, but with the same gentle mindfulness that has shaped every part of his day. Then he prepares for sleep. His sleeping mat is unrolled, woven straw, firm and familiar. He fluffs the small pillow, folding a soft cloth over its edge. He changes into his nightrobe, made of unbleached cotton, cool to the skin. Before he lies down, he moves to a small altar in the corner of the room. Upon it, a single flower in a narrow vase. A small bell, a wooden statue, hands folded, face serene. He bows once. He does not speak. Words are not needed. The day itself was the prayer. He kneels, eyes closed, breath deepening. One full inhale, one longer exhale, gratitude settles like dust. Soft, still, everywhere. Then he rises and extinguishes the lantern with a quiet puff. Darkness folds gently over the room like a cloth laid over sleeping hands. He lies back on the mat, pulling the light blanket over him. The window remains open, just enough to let in the night air and the distant lull of insects, the faint creak of trees and the soft rhythm of his own breath. His hands rest on his stomach, his eyes close, and the world falls away, not in a rush, not in silence, but in a slow, endless sigh. The garden sleeps, the house sleeps, and the artisan dreams, not in visions, but in peace.